Hi friends, it's me Darshna once again. I welcome you all to the third episode of After of Thal. कहते हैं अगर किसी चीज को शिद्दत से चाहो तो पूरी कायनात उसे तुमसे मिलाने की कोशिश में जुट जाती है. And this seems to be so true for our stars. May it be teary eyes or fiery tumors, bulging eyes or twitching lids. Oculoplasty opinion was always needed. Let us ask our stars what is their pinch-in-plasty moment in their everyday practice. Let's hear from Dr. Menon.
Everyday motivation, if I have to talk about my subject, is the vast variety of cases that we get in oculoplasty, where there is such a vast range of entities that we are dealing with, whether it's an eyelid problem or an orbital issue or a socket related issue or a lacrimal system related. So there's a lot of range that one has to deal with. There's a lot of variety where each patient is so different from the previous one, and it helps you to apply your brain. It keeps your mind active, and the reconstructions you have to plan. You have to really be focused, and while you're operating, when you're so focused in your surgical area, so that gives you a different high. So I think so the fact that there is so much of variety which never lets you get bored or never lets the work become monotonous, I think that aspect is really important, and that gives me the high or the motivation to go to work the next day.
Thank you for your views. Let's hear from Dr. Grover.
That is very true. You have to love your profession. We really love our work, and only then you can get ahead in life. I don't think there is still any better profession than medical profession, in spite of all the hardships, all the difficulties that we are facing today with all the consumer protection acts and the change in attitude of public. But still, there is no more rewarding profession than medical profession in terms of the satisfaction, and certainly more when you are a surgeon. We've had several moments when you feel elated, when you feel thrilled when you get some results. I'll give you an example. There was this 30-year-old man who was a trainer, athletic trainer. He had developed a thyroid eye disease. He had severe exophthalmos. He had started losing vision. He had intractable glaucoma and a constant pain. He wanted to commit suicide. He came in and he said that unless you cure me, I'm going to commit suicide. We did a bilateral decompression. His glaucoma was controlled, his vision was stabilized, improved, and he went back to his daily routine, working back as an athletic coach and doing his daily life, a happy life. And that was very rewarding. We really felt that we had achieved something, saved a life. And there are such moments every day that you can savor, that you can enjoy, and we must look at that as our biggest satisfaction. Unless the patient satisfaction is our goal, unless we want to really love what we are doing, we will not be happy and we will not be successful. So love your profession, love patients, and do your best for everyone.
Thank you for your views. Let's hear from Dr. Mittal.
Regarding the pinch-in-plasty, oculoplasty is a very adventurous branch. Every case that you do is something new. Even if you keep on doing leg surgeries, or if you keep on doing some, tumor excisions, every time you have a different type of a shape, different type of a size. So everything is very much new. So there are a lot of varieties. It's not monotonous like doing the phaco every time. You have to be taking out the lens and putting a new lens. But it's not monotonous. You keep thinking, you keep innovating things. You are fresh every time you go in for surgeries. And also, the thing which keeps you moving is when the patient says that I have seen so many people, but nobody could do it, and you have done it. So that motivates you. और your colleague mentioning you, यार ये काम हम नहीं करते, सिर्फ वो करता है या उसके पास चलेगा. So when they say they put a good word for you, कि nobody else does it, you do it. So that is very, very exciting and motivating for you. I remember Dr. Daljit Singh from Punjab Ophthalmic Society. He once was delivering an oculoplasty lecture, and during his lecture, he mentioned, I have been doing so many oculoplasty for so many years, but now I have stopped doing major cases. Whenever difficult case comes, I send it to Raman, and he does a better job than me. So that type of word actually is probably my finest reward I have ever got. A person of that stature giving me this, or like Dr. Amod Gupta from BGI once said, कि the way there is potato, आलू तो हर सब्जी में होता है, हर सब्जी blend होता है. इस तरह से you are like an आलू तो हर specialty के साथ blend होता है. You have to be in complement with every specialty. So these type of things, when you become friend or team with your other colleagues, and you become like a part of everybody's institute. You are not on your own institute. I'm not running iPlast only. Probably I am a plastic department for every institute or every hospital of this area. So that keeps you motivated, and everybody, your colleagues, everybody encourages you. We don't eat anybody's steak, or they don't eat my oculoplastic. It's like a synchronization very much.
Thank you for your views. Let's hear from Dr. Hunawar.
Well, what is a pinch in oculoplasty, or what gives kick? Pinch in oculoplasty, I believe, comes from the fact that you're able to give what the patient wants in terms of appearance. Patient having ptosis, having it corrected to symmetry, patient having a disfigured, painful, blind eye, who comes for cosmesis, getting what he or she wants, gives a great sense of fulfillment. And if you're practicing oncology, then a stronger kick is trying and achieving life salvage, eye salvage, and vision salvage in difficult ocular cancers and such conditions. So you get a lot of happiness in practicing oculoplasty and oncology. I really feel that.
Thank you for your views. Let's hear from Dr. Javed Ali.
What is the pinch moment in plasty, or what keeps me alive in plasty? I think oculoplasty renders or lends itself for a lot of clinical work and innovative research work. I would actually go a step forward and say that ophthalmic plastics had actually allowed me to branch out into a standalone specialty, dacryology. It allowed me to work in areas where nobody in the world also works on that one. So I think in essence, it is something, how do I put that? In essence, I would say that it gives you a lot of room to maneuver yourself professionally. The very fact that Dr. Santosh Hunawar and myself have been recognized by the Indian Nobel, the Shanti Swarup Bhatnagar Award, is a testament to what this branch offers as a career choice.
Thank you for your views. Indeed, there is a huge spectrum in oculoplasty that can keep you going. Is the story so far triggering your interest in plasty? If yes, look out for this important question. Let us find out whether for our stars, life was always a bed of roses. Let us know their key challenges and how they dealt with them. Let's hear from Dr. Mittal.
Key challenges were many. One was to be established as a pure plastic guy. Then to get jobs, first of all, you don't get jobs. Then to compete with all others, not only ophthalms but also some other, ENT people, neurosurgeons, general surgeons, plastic surgeons, and of course your ophthalmologist or pan-ophthalmologist who would do oculoplasty. And to create a niche for yourself, to get the good amount of money for the effort, the huge effort you put in for oculoplasty. So everything was very challenging. The most challenging was to make people aware of what oculoplasty is. I remember the first CME I conducted when I was in Amritsar, and a very senior guy, Dr. Rajbir Singh, he said, Daman, sab to pehla te tu das tu karega ki, what is oculoplasty? So that is the main question, because most of our ophthalmologists, probably even today, they don't know what oculoplasty is all about. What all do you do? So that was very important thing which I had to sort of tune them in. What all can I do? What all oculoplasty is all about? And then surviving in oculoplasty without cataracts, which is like bread and butter, was really difficult. It was a very big challenge for me. Then money. Nobody was ready to pay for DCRs, for Entropion, for TOSES, even for that matter. Orbitotomy. Even you see the ECHS, EGHS list, there's only 7,000 for an orbitotomy, whereas there is more than 8 or 10,000 for cataracts. So the money is very less. So all these challenges are there when you are about to go in for plasty. You have to fight with every point and every point of time.
Thank you for your views. Let's hear from Dr. Grover.
Just spoke about some of the challenges that we faced in the initial years of starting oculoplastic services. But there were many, many more. There were no material available. When I started, there was no material for lacrimal intubation, for orbital floor implants, nothing available in the country. There were no needles for fascia lata to be introduced. We started with artery forceps. We started to get some silicone tubes by requesting one of the importers to get it for us, but we could not introduce them into lacrimal passages, so we took out those stillets from the stainless steel needles that used to come for injection, hypodermic needles. We took those stillets, put them in those tubes and used that rigidity to introduce silicone tubes. Then we started cutting blocks out of, we got some silicone blocks from somewhere. We started cutting them, they were very hard. It was one task cutting a piece out of them or making a plate out of them. We started using floor implants. So all this had to be pioneered. All of this had to be created de novo. There were no examples to look at, there were no films to look at. You had to struggle, you had to read every time and go on. Oculoplastics is a very wide field. You have huge variety of cases. Even today, I need to read ever so often for for a case which I find is new, or for a procedure that I'm doing after a year or two, and there are a lot of them. So you need to keep working hard to get to that entire range, to improve in your surgeries. And when you have no examples in the beginning to look at, or when you have no YouTube films like you have these days to see how to do the procedure, we had to read, we had to work hard to read again every time we did a procedure and try and improve upon ourselves. So the basic mantra is perseverance, desire to do well, and work hard to do what you want to. You may have to innovate, you may have to work as a team to try and get some things organized in a difficult circumstances, but you have to persevere. So if you do persevere, you will succeed.
Thank you for your views. Let's hear from Dr. Menon.
Some of the key challenges that I recall when I began this path were to begin with, even after doing a post-graduation and even after working with some great oculoplastic specialists, when I went for my fellowship to LV Prasad, a large part of my fellowship had to deal with oncology, and that oncology subject was relatively new. And so that was the first challenge, because even after you do your residency, and now things have changed obviously, but then in those days, even after you've done your residency or everything, still our exposure to oncology was very limited. And so that was the first challenge I faced, and it felt like, something overwhelming as to in the oncology OPDs as to what you're dealing with. It was difficult to grasp initially, but then over a period of time and with excellent teachers around, the path became easy. The next challenge came after fellowship, when you hit the road and you are out there in the real world. That's the next challenge that I think everybody faces when fresh out of fellowship. And in my situation, it was particularly a little more challenging, because I was going to kind of start a new specialty in a hospital where this branch did not exist to that extent earlier. So yeah, that was the second challenge, and the cases initially were hard and difficult to come by. And there were less cases, obviously there were financial challenges also. But as I said, if you have interest in something and you keep at it, keep doing your good work, and you are persistent, then obviously the results will show, and they did show with time. But it takes time.
Thank you for your views. Let's hear from Dr. Honavar.
Early challenges would include lack of facilities in the place that you choose to work, lack of support, lack of patient volume. It was not a warm department. Warm in the sense that, when you join, say, a cornea department in a very established institute, you have a certain patient volume already. One of the reasons for it is that the administrators and not even ophthalmologists who head those departments understand the needs of oculoplasty well. One example is when I wanted to start orbital exenteration, I was asked, why do I need hypotensive anesthesia when ophthalmology does not need it? So that facility was not available, and only for that reason I could not do what I was trained and had skills to do. So these are the initial challenges. Then comes patient volume. When you start a new service or a department, you may not have enough patient volume, right? So you have to bring it. How do you bring it? One is to make sure that you have internal referrals, but that doesn't happen all the time. You don't have enough volume even then. So you have to go around showing off your skills with good documentation and video recording, and get referrals. So you go from conference to conference, talking and showing off your skills, trying to get referrals, even if you're not practicing in a private practice kind of a situation, but even if you're in an institute, just because you have passion to practice that specialty, you have to bring in patients. Otherwise, you'll be unfulfilled. And until you have that kind of a volume, it is essential to fill your OPD list and OT list with enough number of cases to make sure that the institute gets the value for what they have invested on you. Then you might have to do cataract. So in fact, I had to do cataract and glaucoma for several years before I could switch completely over to oculoplasty. In fact, it took about 7, 8 or even 9 years for me to get the equipment that I needed and start full-fledged practice of oculoplasty and ocular oncology. That much time it sometimes takes. So you can imagine the kind of perseverance and patience that you need to have. These are not negative parts. In fact, these are very fulfilling. When you go through this path and when you achieve what you wanted to achieve at the end of it, it's very fulfilling. No, those are the early challenges. But then once you overcome those challenges, then you achieve success very rapidly, because there is a kind of lacuna or I would say vacuum in oculoplasty which will allow you to achieve success much rapidly than a cataract surgeon or a cornea specialist would achieve. So oculoplasty and oncology and whatever subspecialties that you choose within it, socket, dacryology, aesthetics, you have a lot of vacuum there. So you achieve success fairly rapidly. But with that comes a price that you would pay. Seniors who are insecure and juniors who are impatient can make your life difficult. Those are some of the delayed challenges that you will face.
Thank you for your views. Let's hear from Dr. Javed Ali.
So the key challenges that happened in this journey, well, my belief is that the greater the audacity, the greater will be the challenges. And life will test you. Life will test you whether you are up to the mark to deserve whatever it has to offer. There have been several challenges. Just to name a few, there are innumerable if I start looking at that way. But one that can stand out in the midst of what we are actually talking about was that soon after my residency, obviously for oculoplasty fellowship, I applied at the LV Prasad Eye Institute, and I was not selected the first time. Well, then comes the challenge. The next interview and examination was 6 months away. What would you do? Would you join somewhere to work, or how would you spend? That's a challenge that I had. But I wanted to spend those 6 months doing oculoplasty with anyone, need not be a fellowship, I can work in the clinics, however it is, but I wanted to spend those 6 months in plastics. Right, my father was quite generous enough to help me with finances at that point of time. There was shortage of finances. A lot of things kept going in that, but I kept my focus for those 6 months. Did a lot of oculoplasty, much more than what I was prepared before, and in a way I came back with a bang. So there will be difficulties, there will be challenges. सफर में धूप तो होगी, जो चल सको तो चलो, सभी है भीड़ में यहाँ, तुम भी निकल सको तो चलो। किसी के वास्ते राहें कहाँ बदलती हैं, किसी के वास्ते राहें कहाँ बदलती हैं, जो तुम खुद अपने आप को बदल सको तो चलो। सफर में धूप तो होगी, जो चल सको तो चलो।
Thank you for your views. So roses don't come without thorns. Our stars had their share of challenges and they faced them head on. Thank you, stars, for letting us know about your fabulous journey in oculoplasty. May I request you for a piece of advice for the postgraduates aspiring to pursue plasty?
So choose your profession wisely. Think before you take up oculoplastics. Once you take it up and you love it, you are bound to succeed in it. It will require dedication. It will require hard work, which is essential, integral to your success in oculoplastics, but you love it, and that is what you need. You have to work hard for it. Look positively ahead. Don't ever look back with regret. Think ahead, plan ahead, be positive, be dedicated to your profession. I'm sure you can succeed. There is no way that with full sense of involvement and full hard work you can ever fail in your goals. Thank you.
So my advice for anybody who wishes to pursue this branch would be, I think the first thing that I would tell anybody who's graduating or doing his post-graduation and wants to do some fellowship is that first understand yourself. Try to look within yourself, understand what you are, who you are, and then choose your subject according to what appeals to you, what appeals to your mind and what appeals to your soul, rather than just looking around at others, who is doing what and who's earning how much. Yeah, there will always be differences. Somebody would be earning more than you, somebody would be earning less than you, so that should not be the deciding criteria. Of course, we need to be practical, but I think any branch that you choose, that part usually gets covered up. What is important is that you should be truthful to yourself and be very, very honest with yourself as to what appeals to you and what you would like to do, because it will be something that you would be doing for the rest of your life. So if you choose a subject which you've just chosen out of compulsion or out of looking at others, then you may get to regret it later. You don't want to do that, or you may not get that kind of kick or that kind of enjoyment from it. So whatever subject you choose, it should be something that you really enjoy doing on a daily basis. That enjoyment part, that being attracted to that work and having fun in that work every day, is something which is very important whenever you choose a specialty. Thank you.
For my younger colleagues who want to venture into oculoplasty, I would like to say that it's a wonderful branch. It's very adventurous, but you should be very well determined to decide and going for a plasty. Whenever you decide, before you decide, you should know about yourself, whether you are an institutional person or you want to go in a corporate sector or you want to do a private practice. If you are the first to institutional or corporate, nowadays there is a lot of awareness amongst the institutes, so you will be taken up easily and you will have a good life, good number of patients, good amount. Earlier it was difficult because nobody knew what plasty was all about. And if you want to be in a private practice, I would suggest you should be ready with your presentations, your pictures pre and post. Take the help of your mentors and your seniors, and with your documentation, so that you can go and present to your colleagues around in that area what all you can do, what all you can present with them, what all results you can give with them. Never try to compete with the seniors out there in that area. Be a team with them. They will be a good guiding force. Never compete with them in price. If they are charging a particular price, say about 40,000 for a surgery, do not try to bring down the price to 20. Charge a bit less, but not too less. Be a team with them. Do not take or eat away the phaco's or cataracts of your referring colleagues. Never. Always send back the patients to your referring colleague so that they are sure with you, they have good rapport with you, and they will be more confident by seeing your results. Once they see a good result of yours, they will be very confident that yes, you can give the results. Never eat up. But yes, you should keep your phaco skills alive in case you are in a private practice, because down the line you may need your phaco skills to do your own phacos so as to get some good and easy money. Who doesn't like some easy money? So main thing is you have to be gelling with everybody, be a team, be a complement, do not be a competitor in the field.
What's my advice to fellows? Well, I think you should follow your passion. If you follow your passion, everything else falls in place. It is just a matter of time. Everything else in terms of success, money, satisfaction, everything else comes over a period of time, but passion is the prime ingredient, without which I don't think there is anything else. So once you have that kind of a passion for a particular specialty, the next step is to choose a good fellowship program or a good mentor. I value mentors more than the programs or the institutes that offer these programs themselves. Mentors are most important because they kind of mold you in a way that is ideal, optimal, in a way you want to get transformed. From a general ophthalmologist or a generalist into a specialist. So mentors are most important. So find a good mentor and a good fellowship program. That is the second step. The third step is to invest everything that you have, all your mental faculties, all your emotional faculties, all your energy into that fellowship program for the next 1 to 2 years. Investment in fellowship, I think, is the most essential and wisest thing that you can do to have a very fulfilling career.
So in essence, what I want to say is that in the midst of all what is happening around, don't forget to live your life. There are many dimensions to life other than a professional career. So do what you love and love what you do. And I think everything will fall in place. Thank you very much.
Simply speechless. Now, take a dive into your heart and see what your heart sync with. With this, we come to an end of this episode of After Ophthal. We hope our lockdown period efforts will help you in dealing with After Ophthal syndrome. Bye, take care and stay inspired.
It was a life-changing experience for me because this was for the first time I was able to understand what exactly means to see.
The innocent smile of the child is the best reward that stimulates us, shoots us the hormones.
3 additional years after residency was a very good foundation for my career in the future.
I don't externally benchmark myself or my progress. I just try to do the best possible in that particular job that I am given.
Between me and vitreoretinal surgeon, we have done 6 surgeries.